I'm glad you're pro because I'm anti-New Girl.
I'm not saying I'm pro New Girl.
Sorry.
I am pro a Cece and Winston mess around. I have Zoe Deschanel trauma. I'm a girl with bangs and glasses.
What's good? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Newest Olympian. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I'm a grown man who never read the Percy Jackson books as a kid. I read them as an adult because I was on a quest to determine if society had been sleeping on the series. I said yes, and now I'm seeing if society's been sleeping on the TV show. I don't think people are sleeping on it because my normie norm friends are talking to me about Percy Jackson, so I think we're doing well. But I am now joined for this episode by the perfect set of guests. This is what seems to be, at least so far, because I've only seen through episode 5, seems to be the most Percabeth of the episodes. So I had to bring on the Percabeth truthers, the preeminent field experts of Percabeth. It is Erica and Carter from Seaweed Brain. Folks, how's it going?
Hello, good morning.
Good
I
morning.
love appearing on someone else's podcast as a guest and also have like a hot mug of tea in my hands and be covered in a podcast blanket because I feel like a visiting expert.
Yes.
Professor of Percabeth Studies from the University of Riordan, from the Riordanversity.
Riordanversity. That's great. Well done. We should make merch. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the PhD and the P stands for Percy. So.
And the H stands for? You can do it. You can do it.
It stands for how much he loves Annabeth, all in one word. And then the D is duh.
Yeah. Perfect. Percy, how much he loves Annabeth. Duh.
Duh. That's what my doctorate is in. But yes, we're going to be breaking down season 2, episode 5. It's long and there's a lot to do. Shall we just get right into it?
It is long.
Shockingly
Let's do it.
long, yeah.
Let's go. So we wake up. Our two heroes are in a golden, dusty spa. And of course, since we were all on set, immediately I was like, I know what this place is. And I feel like we were there for like quite a bit of filming of the stuff in this episode. So I don't know if you all were like me, but there were like certain things where it felt like I was being teleported back, like where there were certain scenes where we heard them running the same lines a million times.
Oh, for sure.
That it like felt very strange to like watch that on the TV show and be like, right, I remember being there.
Even especially that spiral staircase shot. I was like, I feel like I saw this so many times. I got dizzy.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But when it's the thing of her saying, son of Poseidon, daughter of Athena, like she delivered that line so many times.
And in many
when
different
we were
ways.
there. So
She
many
was
different
improving.
ways. She was doing great, like power to her. And that was where like I had never been on a set before this thing. And I was like, it made me just respect editors so much because it's like, how did they pick which take? They shot this one line of dialogue like 40 times just from this one camera setup. Like, how do people pick? It's insane.
And directing is 50% post.
Yes.
That's what I always think about. Directing is 50% after everyone leaves.
That was the thing that was the most shocking is they cut so much into it that the feel of the performance was, I think, quite different than what we saw on the set because there were all these interstitials of Stavros and all of these other things that are totally adjusting the pacing.
Yeah.
I would not have confidence being able to walk out of that being like, we really got it. I guess they did a ton of takes. They must have had it.
Right.
But
Power to the actors, power to the directors, power to the editors. My big takeaway from our set visit was making a TV show is so hard. It is an accomplishment that they do it.
Absolutely agree.
shout out to television. Yeah.
So Annabeth is there in addition to Percy. She warns Percy not to go out because she hasn't made a full scouting yet. And she says that she woke up 15 minutes earlier, doesn't know where they are. And then Hilla enters offering cucumber water. And I think it's very fun because at the time, I was currently reading The Son of Neptune when we were at the set visit. I don't remember if I had gotten to the Hilla is important again thing. I don't know. Because I was like reading they were about to go to Vancouver. Maybe I had like just met Hilla. Maybe that was it. Maybe I had like just had her like come back into play because I feel like I had just read the Seattle chapter. So I was like, oh, Hilla, kind of important, but fun for her to be there.
Can you remind us where you are right now?
Oh, yeah, good. Important context. I'm like at chapter 10 of House of Hades for spoilers.
Okay.
So
What a special place to be.
Yeah, good for spoiler purposes. Thank you so much for asking.
I think it was when we were walking through the costume shop that Carter and I spotted the like name tag on the costume rack that said Hilla. And we were like, oh my God.
Because when we got there, they were like doing the telescope scene, but it was just like the stand-ins. So it was like dude with curly hair for Percy, woman with Annabeth braids.
Ooh, stand-ins.
The stand-ins. They were just there doing their thing. And then we got there later, and then Hilla was there proper. So yeah, fun for her to be in the mix. And fun for her to offer cucumber water. But Percy, of course, immediately asks, what happened to Tyson? And Annabeth asks, and what happened to Clarice and everyone else? I love Percy being like, where's my brother? And Annabeth being like, and the other people, Percy? So Hilla very somberly says that they found the two of them floating on a raft. They're the only survivors. So how did you two feel? I think this is like the first instance, and this episode, it'll keep happening. But like this kind of sets the tone right away that like we're different from what happens in the book. How were the two of you feeling? I know that, you know, different Percy Jackson fans have different, like they should be keeping it more true to the books. Where did the two of you fall?
Well, that's an interesting question just because this episode, I think specifically is such a reworking of this set of chapters from the book. Like in the writer's room, when they're given a set of, you know, chapter like 14 to chapter 19 is in this episode, take this chunk of pages and go like figure out how to put it into a script. This particular episode really said, like Sarah Watson wrote this episode, I believe it was like, let me find a way to combine the fatal flaws into the focal point of both the Sirens and of Cece's, which I don't think doesn't make sense. I watch with a totally open mind, and then I think if I was writing the script, why would I do this? And I think it makes a lot of sense to combine these two things into like a single trial because of the way that we're trying to organize the Sea of Monsters, in the way that Clarice frames it in episode 204, saying like, Trial 1 is Scylla and Charybdis sacrifice. Trial 2 is facing the Sirens, and then Trial 3 will be hitting Polyphemus. So it keeps Cersei's spa from being like a non sequitur that kind of slows the pacing down of the overall quest.
Yeah. I think there was a fear of having each episode not be an episode, right? In television writing, they want like beginning, middle, end, rise without there being any episode that is sort of like, this time we're doing two little small fun things. And they will be tangentially related to each other, and you're going to like it. No, we're still doing 3-act structure. We want rising tension all the way, basically, until we have something really intense happen and close out, which is appropriate. And also, probably we're going to need to explain some of these things in a little more detail, since television, we're not in his head. Annabeth probably can't just sit there and tell us how everything works as we're sailing past the Sirens.
Right. I think it was good. I think like it's a tricky part of the book because they are combining a lot, but I think you are keeping the essence. And I'm one that's like very chill with them making changes as long as like the core reasoning behind it is there. And that's what it felt like in this episode. I felt like what was there was important. I'm intrigued the most by this episode to see like what the fan reaction is, because I think this could have the most anger of they changed so much, but I still think like it all works. I agree that with what you're both saying of like it kind of keeps the pacing going and it makes it less side questy, because the Cersei one was like pretty side questy, and it is also kind of like a slight change in pace in the book where it's like we're on the boat, it takes longer, Percy explains a lot, and like I think in a book it's fun because then that's in the book where Annabeth reveals like the Cyclops stuff and we're getting a lot of that, but I think that's just a classic like works in book not in show as much thing, especially for show that's trying to reach out to people who haven't read the book. And I think that that's something that isn't always in the front of people's minds when they get upset that they're doing things too quickly. It's like, yeah, you are okay with a 58 episode season because you love this book, but someone else might be like, wow, they've been drinking Dr. Pepper on this boat for 4 chapters. You know, that's quite a bit. So when Percy thinks that Tyson is dead, he sits down in sadness and he says, I promised my mom I'd take care of him. Annabeth tries to play devil's advocate saying, or I guess Hades' advocate, that he could still be alive because he's fireproof as a Cyclops. He's the son of Poseidon, so the water, like he could be okay. Percy says, we've lost everything. Annabeth goes ahead to scout. And when she's scouting, we have Hilla saying, welcome to Cece's Island Resort and Spa. It's the only sanctuary in the Sea of Monsters. And then here is Stavros busting out saying ready, and Hilla explains that this doesn't happen very often, and everyone gathers to watch. Percy's here at this point as well. This is, the scene that we also saw. So at this point, Cece descends the spiral stairs, and this is where she says, son of Poseidon, daughter of Athena, and like she said this line so many times, because when we were at set, there was all certain things of like, for the next hour, you're doing this, for the next hour, you're doing this, and this was like, of all of the times we saw filming, I think this was the longest of like, sit in those little director's chairs with the headphones, watch the TV that has the multiple screens and blah, blah, blah. This was one of the ones. And God, she just read this line so many times, which it's just like part of the craft. But I was so impressed. I was really impressed with just like how much work goes into it. Cause they're doing the one thing, they're filming it from one side, they're filming it from the other side. And then they're doing the thing with the telescope. And I remember also, I love like the directors yelling out the stuff for all of the extras to have to do. Yes. And I remember this one being like, and he turns towards the sirens. And then everyone's like, oh.
Specifically this one where they're reacting. All they're doing in the scene is staring at a green screen.
Yep.
When everybody goes, that is like an excellent moment of classic Riordanverse. We keep discussing, Carter and I, on our podcast, the juxtaposition. The like, when we want to see Stavros on a jet ski, that was a perfect moment of all of these demigods going, yeah,
Him being on a jet ski was so fun because he's wearing like this old school armor. So for him to get on a jet ski was great.
Which does that imply that he has been here since like the Trojan War is my question.
Interesting. He doesn't look very old though.
I think it was supposed to be like
it's a bit of a time mess, like the Lotus.
Yeah, it could be. I took it more of just like he comes from a different like antiquated thing where like some of the things that they have at Camp Half-Blood look kind of old school. So whatever his deal is, his training, they have like old school stuff from, Stavros 1 and he's Stavros the 14th.
So you think there could be like demigods from other like mythologies present at CC Spa?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like there's some sort of like, I don't know, like Roman camp in California or something and they wear purple shirts. Like who knows?
A Camp Jupiter person would think that they could sail straight past the sirens. True.
So this, exactly what happens is he's jet skiing out. He's trying to make his way, and then he goes towards the sirens, and they're all sad. Now the sirens' outfits look so cool. We knew they were going to look cool just based on Kate taking us through the costume department and explaining that like the costume was a hybrid between the costume department, the props department, set dressing, like the people who do like accessories and stuff. Yeah. And then also the stunt team, because they had the people on, strings and stuff. So she was like, it was multiple departments working together, and man, they look so cool. I was so hyped. Like of all the things to see, like I'm excited to see how they actually do it in the show. The sirens, I think, was number one because it was, you don't see them as much in the teaser. They're just like barely there, but Kate really hyped them up and she did a proper job because they're so freaking cool.
Very cool.
Definitely. Just the way that they articulate their rock spines in that very first shot where we don't see their faces yet and they go which is also like a sound department, sound design thing, because you can feel the rocks cracking.
Great Foley work.
Like bones. Carter keeps saying great Foley work.
It's incredible Foley work all season.
It's good.
We really need to identify and interview the sound designer on this podcast.
Yes.
But specifically, we spoke with Eli, the stunt coordinator, and we did an interview with him, and he was talking about how Cassandra, who last season, I guess this is a fun fact, last season Cassandra Ebner was Percy's stunt double, and this season she is too small to be Walker's stunt double, but she was one of the sirens, and they like handpicked stunt performers based on their movement quality, like people who had like, dance experience or whatever, to be able to emulate like the physical movement of each of these sirens, which they wanted to be like, each one was like a little bit different from each other. And I feel like it was really exciting to watch them with their hands and what they were able to do as they're like glued to these rocks in these gigantic costumes on location.
Mm-hmm. Really fun stuff. Really fun stuff. So Cece says that she does what she can to help people escape the island, but not everyone is patient. Stavros then turns towards the sirens. Percy asks what the sirens sound like, and she says it's a different song for each hero. They peer into their souls to see your fatal flaw, and they use that to trap you in an illusion of your own making. And then this is when he gets yoinked by the monsters. And I believe this was another thing where the director, whoever yelled out, and eaten by the sirens. Like, and then they all have to go like, ah. It was also such a fun vibe to be on set that day because since all of the extras are people at spa resorts, there were just dozens of people wearing bathrobes and slippers all around. And it was such a jarring thing when we first showed up because we didn't know exactly what was going on. So we show up, it's freezing because it's Vancouver in January. I saw what I was most excited about for the entire thing, which was the craft services area. And I was like, let's freaking go. And then there were people in line wearing bathrobes. And I at first was like, oh, are they like getting food before they go into hair and makeup? That's very fun. And then we go in and we see like way more people in bathrobes. And then they explain what scene they're filming. And it was like, oh, the spa. And I didn't even clock it until watching this episode. But the fact that there were dudes as extras should have like been very clear that they're going to change the whole Cersei Cece thing, because in the book it was very much like along the lines of like men are pigs kind of deal.
Witchcraft forward. Instead we did therapy forward.
Yes, indeed. A lot of therapy terms being thrown around. Cece says it is safe to stay here as long as they want. Percy asks what Stavros' fatal flaw was, and she says bravery, but she says that true bravery is looking inward and confronting your true self. That's the key to passing the sirens. And Annabeth goes, or use wax, which love her little counter argument there. And then Cece's like, oh, you're Homer fans, aren't you? That man has gotten more demigods killed. And she explains that it wasn't just wax. It was from Aristaeus' personal hive. And Percy goes, right, that guy. And Annabeth thankfully clues us into who he is. This was not in the book, right? Like this was added. Didn't they just use regular wax?
I think it is true that in the Odyssey, he gets the wax from a god. However, I don't think that this magic component is part of prior tellings of the story.
Ooh, interesting.
We're probably not the best people to ask about this, but that is roughly my understanding that this is like a lore insertion because I feel like the classic, like, the conflict in the book is not over whether or not it's easy to pass the sirens. They kind of are saying it is easy if you are a person who has the strength of will to decide to ignore them and put the things in and keep going. And it's like a meta Annabeth's hubris thing that she's going to try to be Odysseus and listen in anyway.
It's that the beeswax comes from Circe in the Odyssey. So it is not named as being from the god of beeswax. It's that Circe gives him quote unquote magic beeswax.
Gotcha. I also think you're making a good point, Carter, in that I think in the book, it was more of the sirens. It's more of like a sneak attack. And if you're prepared like Annabeth is, you can avoid them. And then in the show, they've changed it more to, because they are combining it with the fatal flaw thing, it's more of like, this is a dedicated thing you have to prepare for. So I think because there's preparation, maybe that's why they decided like, it can't just be regular beeswax. Otherwise everybody would just beeswax and it would be fine. So we need it to be special so that it feels more of like this insurmountable sort of thing. So Cece says that if they can suppress their fatal flaw, they can be like the 6 who passed. And they show these statues of 6 people.
Hilarious.
Shout out to Madeline.
Shout out to Madeline.
Yeah, was that so? Was
representation matters?
Yeah, I was wondering, is this just like name drop, or like I couldn't tell if these were like inside jokes for other things or references, or were they just?
I guarantee you that they are like the names of somebody's children or wife for sure. Also, they had one named Chrysopolis.
I did,
and
like
they definitely shot this after hiring Levi.
So that's very fun.
This maybe have just after they had hired Levi, because we were there in January. So I don't actually know. But I have a feeling that all the names are fun little Easter eggs to friends of the show.
Yeah, I do know just from Hollywood knowledge that is like definitely a thing that writers will do. It's like try to put in as many name drops. One of my dad's best friends from high school was Gomez Adams in the new Addams Family on ABC Family. Shout out Glenn Toronto. Nice. He went on to write a script for something and basically at any time name dropped his high school friends, like named every character, like the barber had a name and the mailman had a name and everything. And then in the different script feedback, they would just be like, this guy doesn't need a name. This guy doesn't need a name. And like my dad's character was one of the doesn't need a name. And I think the only one they kept was his friend Jay, I think is the barber. And they were like, oh yeah, go to Jay Delaney, the best barber in town. This is, they tried to get all these sneak names in, and the writing feedback was like, we don't need to name the mailman. He can just be the mailman.
Fair.
But anyway, Percy Jackson.
That's fair.
Yeah. Annabeth asks, how long is training? Cece says, depends on you. Annabeth thinks that they could navigate a different way, but then Percy and Cece in unison say that the Sea of Monsters doesn't work that way, giving more of this Percy, like, I have this innate ability where I just know about the Sea of Monsters without really knowing why. And then we cut to Clarice washed up on shore. and she spits out some water from her mouth and gets herself all kind of readied. And then she walks a bit and sees the golden fleece atop a hill and is really excited and goes after it, but gets immediately yoinked into a trap. And what was fun, since also when we were on set, we met the stunt team and the woman who does Clarice's stunts. Could you all tell as obviously as me that it was not Dior, but it was, I forget her name, the woman who does Dior and Leah's stunts?
I feel like we saw a lot of those stunts this episode that we had like seen them like run through.
Right.
Yeah. So I was definitely paying close attention for the ones that we saw in the stunt rehearsal room.
Right. So just like by watching, first I could tell because when she gets yoinked, it's the classic like rope around the ankle and then she's upside down. The stunt person like is waving her hands wildly and always covering her face, which is just like smart to do for shooting it. But also I just could tell because both Dior and this woman have like distinct curly hair, but it's like slightly different. And I remember thinking that the stunt woman had this beautiful head of curly hair, but it looked a little different from Dior's. And then on the TV show, I was like, that's so-and-so's hair. Like it was just
or a wig,
sure,
like,
it could,
which is
right.
can't I completely identical create Dior's gorgeous hair.
Yeah, but it was just this funny thing of like by being on set, there's certain things that I and we are noticing. I'm sure that no one else will ever pick up on, but I'm like, inside scoop. But it was fun. I was like, oh yeah, she was great. Yeah, she said she did stunts for Clarice and Annabeth and Thalia. Stunt stuff is fascinating. You two are no strangers to having interesting conversations with the stunt team and stuff. There's so much that goes into it.
Oh yeah. It's nuts.
Now, after getting yoinked, we see Polyphemus show up. Do you guys say Polyphemus or do you say Polyphemus? Because the show has clearly leaned into Polyphemus, and I've always been a Polyphemiser, and I don't know if I want to convert or not.
I'm in the same boat as you, Mike. Yeah, I think we caved on Thalia, and we are in the process of caving on Polyphemus.
Okay.
As Arian definitely says all the time. Yeah.
The whole show, they've gone with the Polyphemus. So I feel like maybe for these episodes of the show, I'll say it just because that's what they're referring to him as. But I need to do a whole episode with Emily, just being like, what's the right way? What should we be doing? So we now cut to Grover in the carriage humming the consensus song. So stoked the consensus song is back.
Who cried? Me.
Love that it returned. The whole time I was wondering, I was like, what is this season's consensus song going to be? But it turns out it's just bringing it back.
It is the consensus song. Yeah.
It's just bringing it back, which is
You
really,
can't top
really
greatness.
good stuff.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't. And he's in the carriage, which we also learned from the set decoration people had like a wild story behind it. The particular carriage, I believe the story that Hamish was saying was that he put together like preliminary set ideas, and then you have to send that to like different people in production just to like get things approved and kind of say the vibe. Because now since they're doing physical sets and stuff instead of volume stage, it's more of like that work is done before filming as opposed to like in post. And one of the things that they were going for this motif of Polyphemus's cave or Polyphemus's cave is that it was all stuff washed on shore, much like the dress, using that inspiration from the book, taking it into the show. And one of the things he found was online, I guess on like set design Craigslist, was this big old carriage. And he was like, that's cool. And just like put it in the list. And then later he found out that when it got passed along to production and the writing staff, they wrote it into the show. And he was like, oh crap, I actually have to buy this thing now. This was just like mood board Pinterest kind of thing. But now it's like, I have to legitimately get it. And thankfully it had not been sold yet. So he had to buy it because they wrote it into like the actual script. And that is how the carriage went from, oh yeah, just a fun thing to put on a bulletin board to, oh no, you must buy this.
I think it is very effective. We got that Rococo gorgeousness of that sort of dimly lit, high contrast, very painterly Grover sitting in the carriage looking out the window with the nice lace and the frills. Yes, great dress detail. And I think it really gives us in those 3 seconds such the vivid world of what it's been like to be stuck in here and the mental games he has maybe been playing to keep with it, to Viktor Frankl it up, and all of that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Hope no matter what.
So Polyphemus brings Clarice home proudly as dinner. He leaves because he says it needs nutmeg. Love a true chef who knows what spices a dish are called for. And then Grover starts to talk to Clarice. Clarice cuts herself free. Then there's this great bit where she's like falls behind the boiling pot, rises, poof, some hair out of her face and then goes, nice dress. Comedy's back this season, and I'm so stoked. I love that jokes are here.
This is season 2. Carter and I kept saying, especially for a Grover-Clarice team-up is a classic season 2 of a TV show. Let's see these two characters who we've never seen interact before actually finally interact and talk to each other. And we know their personalities so much. How are they going to mix when they're stuck in a cave together? Haha, nice dress. And you're even weirder than I thought is so classic, delicious, yummy. It's a classic CeCe Winston mess around for me.
Yes.
I definitely know who those characters are. Okay. Oh, okay. I've seen Kelly watch that show.
At least someone will understand that.
I do know, look, I'm glad you're pro because I'm anti-New Girl.
You know what? I'm not saying I'm pro New Girl.
Sure.
I'm
Sorry.
saying I am pro a CeCe and Winston mess around. I have Zooey Deschanel trauma. I'm a girl with bangs and glasses.
I just don't like that every episode just devolves to them yelling at each other. Like the script is just like, and then they scream. Like it's every episode. It just devolves into them just screaming. There have been better sitcoms. Yeah. There have been. We'll move on, lest we get more hate comments. When I first was anti-New Girl, people lost their minds. I got essay-long emails of like, it's actually a good show and you're wrong. And I was like, this was a throwaway line in an episode. I don't think about New Girl that much.
It's good for people to believe in something. Whatever gets you to put pen to paper and write out your thoughts. If you want to write Mike another
New
email,
Girl that much, if you like
go
New
ahead
Girl,
and send that to Mike.
Let us know.
You don't know our email, but you can send it to Mike.
I definitely read these long emails. I see them. I see that they're 12 paragraphs long. I definitely read every sentence before I just archive it and never look at it again. I read the long things where people yell at me.
Hashtag
I
Mike
read the long
cares.
nice ones. I don't read the long means ones. I do care. But as long as you're being nice, when you write me a long mean one, I delete that. I don't even archive it. I delete it. I get rid of it. Okay.
Whoa, dark Mike.
Grover.
Dark Mike.
I might have to edit that out. There was a time someone left me an iTunes review that like did hit me where they were like, because every now and then the mean ones will hit you and I shouldn't read them ever. But someone went one that was like, can't wait to listen to an episode where Mike asks his listeners to email in stuff and then complains about getting too many emails the next episode. And I was like, I don't do exactly that, but I see the point you're kind of making.
I know the feeling.
Almost as frustrating as when someone leaves a review that's like, I love the show. It's amazing. 4 stars. What? What? What?
Me on Letterboxd.
What? What are you doing? Are you sure you didn't mean to click 5? Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Grover is asking questions about what's going on. Clarice is fashioning a spear. She says that Percy is dead, as is Annabeth, but Grover knows that they aren't. He can feel it with the empathy link, and he says that he has hope because he has a plan, and his plan just needed a second person and could have used more rope, and now he's got more rope and a second person. So he's got rope, he's got hope, let's go. Nope to feeling sad.
He looks like the Messiah in this scene.
Oh, yeah. He's the veil over. It's a really good look. He's rocking it.
The veil? Like, he reaches into the ether and says, no, they are alive. Gets that, and then he turns around and he literally walks away from her into the one beam of light, looking up as the veil and the dress. He is the prophet.
Wow.
Being
Clarice,
like,
Mary
never give up
Magdalene.
hope.
Who knew?
Never give up hope. Arya knows how to find his light. That's a theater kid.
Look, we love it. We love it. We love it. So he points up at this beam of light and says, the other way out of here, and then looks at the fleece. This is good to kind of like establish for everyone the geometry of the cave, because we've seen all the different stuff, and now we're kind of painting a picture of what we're working with here in terms of the hill, the cave, etc.
They showed off with the geometry of that cave. They said, you're going to see how tall this is. Be impressed.
Well, and that was a thing where like when we were on set, they kind of had it broken up into 3 parts. There was like the lower portion, the higher portion, then the very top, which is like shot from the outside as well. And they had like this big 3D model that they used like a 3D modeling service for. And then they like made a physical one. Like so much went into mapping out the cave. It was really cool. So before we get into what's going on with Percy and Annabeth, let's take our mid-roll break, the sea of sponsors, where we talk about all sorts of stuff, not just ads, but it's also updates with the show, right? Good. Love a pun. Always good when we get to
sponsors is great.
I don't know if I came up with this one or if it was listener submitted. I feel like I did, but maybe this is me, telling myself I'm the best boy and I came up with all the good puns, because sometimes listeners submit them. But glad to have it back after years and years since I covered Sea of Monsters book on the show. But anyway, Sea of Sponsors, and then we'll do the rest of the episode. Hello and welcome to the Sea of Sponsors Auckland edition, coming to you from our hotel in Auckland, which we are actually about to leave in a matter of hours to go to the airport to fly to Sydney, where we will begin the Australia tour. We're doing Australia and New Zealand shows in 2026. The Australia shows are called TNR. The New Zealand, aka Aotearoa shows, are called Aotearoa. And I'm very excited for these shows. Happy New Year, by the way, to everyone. But if you're in Australia and New Zealand, you should come to these shows. But I've got other updates with the podcast, so let's talk about all of the updates. But I'm going to start with the Australia New Zealand tour. If you haven't heard from all the different places I've posted, that tour begins January 3rd, which should be tomorrow if you're listening to this in Australia where it's the future. So we've got a show Saturday night in Sydney. It's at the Comedy Store 2. It's at 7 p.m. I'm super stoked about it. We're going to be joined by Polly Burridge. And then I've got shows throughout the month in Australia, Perth, Melbourne, and Brisbane on the next 3 Saturdays. And then trying to make shows in New Zealand happen beginning January 29th in Christchurch, and then February 1st in Wellington. That one is confirmed. And then February 5th in Auckland. That one is a maybe. But the Auckland and Christchurch ones are looking promising, but the Wellington one is legit confirmed, and you can get tickets to it. And you can get tickets to all the Australia shows. We are really close to selling out the Sydney show. When I looked last night, we had 8 tickets left. So if you want to come through, get those tickets. I'm not sure what the other ones are like, but I know the Sydney one is about to sell out. So you can get tickets to all those shows at thenewsolympian.com/live. And if you go to the TNO Instagram account, you can see what chapters we are covering at those shows. Now, let's say you don't live in Australia and New Zealand and you want to have updates about the podcast. I'm here for you. So we are going to be continuing our streak of doing bonus episodes in between the actual episodes. I just recorded an interview yesterday with one of the writers of the show, and we'll be posting that one in between this episode and the episode about episode 6. And then I have reached out about other interviews, so I should be doing some stuff. I think we'll be able to have bonus episodes in between everything, so you should be getting stuff on Mondays and on Wednesdays. I am also going to try to do a better job of posting things to the Patreon. Now that I will soon be settled in Australia, I will hopefully have the ability to make more bonus episodes and director's commentaries and all the sorts of things, like the monthly live streams and all that, all the Patreon content. I appreciate everyone understanding that my December was wild. It was really, really busy. I was doing so much stuff for the TV show and traveling, and then the holidays came, and there's just a lot going on. So I know I'm a little behind on the Patreon stuff. I want to catch up on it, and I really want to make some more content for all of the people who have been so generously supporting the podcast on Patreon. I really do appreciate all of you. And I also appreciate all the people who've been getting the new merch. If you didn't see, we made Anyway Percy Jackson mugs and then Trans Icon Blackjack shirts. If you bought a Trans Icon Blackjack shirt within the first couple of days of them being up, you should have gotten an email saying that there was an issue with the printing where the TNO logo wasn't showing up. So check your email, because I think you can get a free shirt, and then you'll have a second one. So you can either have 2 or you can give some as gifts. Ooh, and then don't tell anyone that it's free. Hopefully they don't listen to mid-roll breaks. Now, speaking of the Patreon, I want to give a shout out to the folks who've joined the Patreon most recently. So shout out to our newest God tier patrons, Random, Morgan, Taylor Humphreys, and Hannah Diebold. And shout out to our newest Demigod tier patrons, Harmon Jack, Brian Christensen, Mabel Christensen, Gabrielle Yao, and Addison York. Thank you all so much for your support. May Hypnos bless you that if you are juggling all sorts of time zones and stuff and you need to get your sleep schedule and the sleep schedule of a baby all situated into something that works well, you can make it happen. Now, if you're all caught up in the News Olympian and you're looking for some new content to consume, you're in luck, because I make a whole bunch of podcasts and I think you would like these podcasts. One of the podcasts that I make that I think you would like is a show called Horse. It's a comedy podcast about basketball that I make with my buddy Adam Amawala, who is a full-time stand-up comedian. If you enjoyed the little basketball portions of this episode of the News Olympian, I think you'll enjoy us talking about it on a bi-weekly basis. We talk about the NBA, we talk about the WNBA, but we only talk about the entertaining elements of it. So the drama between the players and when people get traded, and we catch you up to speed if you're hearing things in the ether about stuff like, what's the Luka trade? Why do I care about LeBron retiring? All of these things, we can catch you up to speed. So you can listen to that by searching for Horse wherever you get your podcasts, or by going to our website, our new and improved website, thanks to TNO listener Aurelia, horsehoops.com. Now, unless you are listening on Patreon, where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me, and others of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Tunisia, don't be surprised if you hear an ad in Arabic. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode of the News Olympian. And we're back. So we're back at CC Spa. Percy and Annabeth are in their delightful outfits, and they have an exchange back and forth where Annabeth goes, no one at camp needs to know about this. And Percy goes, I don't even know what you're talking about. Great stuff. So now we're in the spa headquarters, which we also were in, and we took lovely photos with all of the cast. The official Disney photographer came in, and it was really fun. And we had all these cages, but we didn't see the critters in them. We just heard stories of the critters. So now we get to see the actual critters in the show. The critters did a great job. I feel like they told us, I don't remember the names, but the cast did identify which of the guinea pigs were the loudest and the sassiest and the most interrupting of the scenes.
Speaking of Foley work, I was thinking the whole time, I was like, how much of this is actual guinea pig audio versus like created guinea pig audio, and the way that they add the guinea pig Foley to like perfectly time with the guinea pig head tilts.
Yeah.
This was some of the greatest animal acting I have ever seen coming from guinea pig Percy. That guinea pig is a freaking star.
Also well cast, looks like Walker. Like it's a convincing casting. Like
especially when there's a little wig
hair
on him, that little CGI wig before he fully transforms. For a split second, we were like, they have to get rid of the wig, otherwise it's going to be a dead giveaway. The signature curls. No, they got rid of the wig.
Good stuff. Now, we hear Cece talking about the whole process, and there were many points in this episode I was really frustrated in a not serious way that episode 5 wasn't one of the ones that we got to see before doing the press, because there's so many things I would have asked about in this episode in particular.
Yes.
I would have asked about like the return of consensus. Like there's so many things, but there's multiple points in this episode where Cece/Cersei talks about the process, not rushing the process, trusting in the process. And the Philadelphia 76ers infamously had a slogan one year called Trust the Process when they were really bad on purpose to then later make their team better. And the fact that Dan and John are huge Sixers fans, I would have for sure just asked them if putting into the script basically trust the process was an intentional thing. So I gotta get him on the show to be like, were you guys putting in the Sixers stuff? Did I do this because of me asking you questions about the Sixers? Like, what's going on?
Is it downstream causally?
If you had asked them that at the junket,
If I had asked them about it at the junket, they would have lost their minds.
if you'd asked that at the junket, they would have said, you flew to California and left your child again for this.
Yeah, it would have been a great. I mean, look, I will be asking it, so we'll see. But yeah, it would have been. It would have been
You can't
wild.
keep Mike down, Disney
The lore,
PR.
no.
You can't keep him down.
You keep inviting me to things, and I'm going to keep asking about basketball. So I got to ask about this, but there's a point in which Cece makes a book fly into her hand, and Annabeth goes, oh, you can do real magic. This is something bigger than what we were originally thinking. And then Annabeth puts together that she knows who she is. And before she can reveal it, Cece goes, oh, that I'm Cersei? I'm not trying to hide it. And how was it revealed in the book? Because I feel like it was like a discovery, not a reveal from Cersei. I don't remember how it went down in Sea of Monsters.
Yeah, it's more of a big realization. Cersei, Cersei.
Yeah.
She kind of is trying to hide it in the book, but
Yeah.
Annabeth also figures it out.
Yeah.
This does feel a little more therapy speaky. Parentheses negative. This is the kind of thing that they warn you about in therapy when someone is over therapized, trying to weaponize their therapy against you, being like that, I'm going to get ahead of it. You think that you named a bad behavior for me, but psych, I'm going to name the bad behavior first and explain to you why it's actually not a bad behavior. And I've been really working really hard on myself. Was anyone else triggered?
Yep, I'm too empathetic. I'm a intuitive person.
This to me links to, I've shared this on the pod, but one of the like biggest pieces of advice I've learned was from one of my buddies, Michael, who was one of my roommates in college, and he's been on the show a bunch. There was a time in which I had like done something that I had regretted, and I had hurt someone's feelings, and I had kind of apologized to them, but more on the lines of admitting fault. And he said to me, admitting fault is not the same thing as apologizing. That's been a huge thing where he's like, yeah, you can't just be like, I messed up. You have to like truly feel bad, try to improve, blah, blah, blah. And that kind of feels similar along the lines of like, yeah, if you go to therapy and you can identify your bad behavior, that's one thing. You do also have to work on fixing the bad behavior. You can't just be like, this is a thing I do and I'm aware of it. Be like, great. And you're fixing it how? Question mark.
Yeah. It seems that that's the part that Cece's has not mastered yet. She has that magical mirror that can show you your truest
She'll name
desires and faults.
Sure.
But she can't help you out of it.
Mm-hmm. So when the Cersei reveal happens, Percy asks Cersei the witch, and she corrects sorceress, and Annabeth corrects the most powerful sorceress. She turned Odysseus' men into pigs, and I did like this comedic thing where Cersei's basically like, ugh, am I ever gonna live the pig thing down? That was the old me. Yeah, it was really funny.
This is a little, honestly, if I'm permitted to say, this is what I wanted a little bit more of from this Cersei performance and portrayal. Like oh my God, am I gonna, like, I wanted it to be this broad and like this sort of of sigh. You know, when she says, like, that is my favorite portion of this, and I would have taken a little bit more eye roll exasperation to line up with a lot of the broad portrayals of the other sort of like adults within the series.
You wanted more of that in the show. Like, you wanted this to happen more throughout the episode.
I wanted more sigh. Yeah, more drama, more diva.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I can see it. It would have been fun. It would have been fun for sure. So she reveals this mirror of true reflection, which is supposed to key you into your fatal flaw. Annabeth asks Cersei what hers is, and she says empathy. She can't help but to help others. Percy decides to step up, and then he's flooded with guilt trip visions of Tyson and other sacrificing for friend clips from season 1. And while this is happening, he creates a cyclone in the water pitcher. Very cool effect. And then Cersei says that his flaw is rare and dangerous. It's putting others before himself. And his instinct was my instinct. When I read this in the book, he goes, how is that a bad thing? And then she explains that he might sacrifice big things, even the world, for a friend. And then the cyclone is back and the pitcher explodes. He storms off in a huff. And then Walker does his like strained voice here was so good. Him sounding like really emotional. Like, I think it was incredible voice work from him. And he's, very in his thoughts and explains rushedly to Annabeth that Cersei is right. He shouldn't be on this quest. And the reason is because, quote, if I had to choose between saving you and saving Olympus, Annabeth, I'd burn it all down. I can only assume the two of you fist pumped, started levitating, freeze frame, credits roll. Like, this feels like the most Percabeth moment we've had in the show yet. How did the two of you feel when this line was delivered?
I literally texted that line to Carter last night, and I was like, I cannot believe that they had him say this. After like my third time watching it, I was still like, this is a nuts thing to have Percy say in season 2, episode 5. But it's true. It makes sense. And they're also... It is very particular, I think, that they are having him say this. It's a string of 3 things, right? He's like,
okay, I'm glad you pointed this out.
Tyson are gone. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if it's a choice between Olympus and you, I would burn it all down to save you. Not because I'm in love with you and you're Annabeth, my soulmate, but because all of my friends are gone and you're the last one left, which is what the Sea of Monsters is all about. The Sea of Monsters, the book, is all about, for Percy and Annabeth, the two of them being stuck alone before they are about to be separated in the next book. And so we need to build up this friendship and this trust, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then he says, but what about if it's a choice between Grover and you? And then I levitated.
Yeah.
Then I levitated for sure.
I am glad you brought this up because I
Scarlet Witch.
I didn't want to say it at first because I was interested to just hear your general reaction to it, but I did write in my notes, the caveat is he says Tyson is dead, Grover is lost, so if beforehand. So like if you are trying to say this isn't just a I love you thing and you're trying to go along with Walker, who like very recently said like season 2 is a slow burn, everybody, and then like watched this episode and it's like, all right, bud, yeah, okay. I think if you are trying to again play Hades advocate, like it's not just the love thing, it is the because everyone close to me is gone. Now, if I've got to choose between you and Olympus, I'm picking you because I'm not losing a third person that I really care about. So, but then you're right. He brings in, what if it's between saving Grover and saving Camp? What if it's between saving Grover and saving Annabeth? Annabeth tries to say, look, if you're worried about the great prophecy, that's 3 years away. And what has her say this is that Percy says, just like Luke said Thalia would. I'm guessing Phoebe and Emily levitated at that point. You've got the like, oh, Percy maybe seeing
Mention
Luke's
a broken
side.
trio.
Oh no, like, they're freaking out about that. So I'm glad all of you have your levitating moments. I'm just waiting
all we need
for...
now is someone to be like, what if it's a choice between you and basketball?
Right,
and
I know.
Mike would also levitate.
I'm just waiting for season 3. Phoebe better have the argument on the basketball courts with the Aries kids. They gotta have. If that happens, I'm gonna lose my mind. Need it. Percy then asks, "What if I'm more human than demigod? Human choices. That's me. That's all I am. I haven't spent enough time in your world to change that." And he says, "This was never my quest. I'm a danger to it." And Leah, as she's been doing all season, has incredible facial acting with how conflicted Annabeth is. Oh, the emotions. They're all over the place. I loved it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this particular scene.
Incredible scene.
And the pink eyeshadow really highlights her big doe eyes, looking sad and scared for dark Percy.
So now we cut back to Clarice climbing the rope. Again, I could tell it was the stunt person because of the hair and head shape. And then Grover is also helping in this process by doing more reed pipe magic. Love that we're getting more reed pipe Grover. The fact that that's become like the sound multiple times. I want to see, can we get that sound isolated, and can I make that my text message tone? It would be such
or like
a
our
good
flashback sound. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, that would be a great, no one will notice that sound. And then also, as I said in previous episodes, the riptide forming, they've been using the same distinctive like clink, 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 clink thing. I like that the show has our dedicated, like, this is Percy's sound effect, this is Grover's sound effect. It's fun.
World building through Foley.
Love it. The Foley work. That's the big takeaway from this season, folks.
Yes,
the
we're going to get
work.
Mike saying the Foley on Olympian as well.
I've been a big proponent on these episodes of telling everyone watch the show with headphones in, because some of the like extras have really funny lines.
Yes.
Like me. Like there's some really good extras. And then also with headphones, this one, when Stavros gets eaten, the like, oh, from, it's good. Everyone should watch the show with headphones in. It's great. Or like we watched the premiere, watch it in a giant theater with insane surround sound. But, you know, not everyone has that luxury. I'm so fear. Why are they not putting this thing in theaters? Before the next season comes out, they should do a thing where it's like, go to the theater and watch all 8 episodes of the previous season. Like, it feels like a slam dunk home run marketing thing.
What's
Disney,
a theater?
What are we doing?
What's a movie theater? You know, people don't want to go to those. They want to watch Frankenstein on their TVs at home. You didn't know about that? Nobody cares about the movies anymore.
People do. Gosh, wild. Wild. So
I'm being sarcastic, guys. I'm an actor. Don't send me an email. Don't send me an email.
Really weird that Erica said this thing that isn't true.
You're talking to an AMC Stubbs A-lister.
I am a Stubbs A-lister. Doing my part.
And I'm old enough to be an adult when MoviePass was out. And
You're going to tell your grandchildren about MoviePass someday.
What a beautiful 6 months we had. Oh, I lived in Seattle, like a 2-block walk away from a duplex cinema. And it was a beautiful time where I would go to Wednesday night showings of Coco and The Shape of Water, which was terrible and didn't deserve to win the Oscar.
Mike.
Get Out was robbed.
Mike, you need to hide that email,
Guillermo del Toro stands are going to email you.
He's great. Love his stuff. Shape of Water was a Lifetime Achievement Award Oscar. He did not deserve it for The Shape of Water. That movie was not as good as Get Out.
Seaweed Brain podcast has no official comment on The Shape of Water.
Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Grover's helping out with the root magic. He explains that the tree is a Cuban oak, so it's very sassive and sensitive. Love it. So good. And this is what causes Clarice to go, "You're weirder than I remember." So fun. So fun. Now the rope tie point breaks. Clarice falls. This, I think, was one of the stunts we saw, like where they like had her like hoisted up and then she like fell into a cushion thing. There's another one that's coming in a future episode we can't talk about that we saw, but this was definitely one that we saw. So when this happened, I was like, this was another weird like out of body thing of like, oh, I remember seeing this, but it was in a room with pads and blue screens. Like this is a different place. So then she falls, but like kind of on top of this cart that has cloth on it. So she's not like super injured. She's just knocked out. Grover hides her underneath this cart and Polyphemus is back. Grover does not have the veil over his face. So Polyphemus realizes what's up and gets all angry. But we cut to Percy now looking at the statues of the Six. This is where we get the Madeline name drop. And this lady offers him pomegranate juice, which like, of course, my instinct was like, no one in a Greek story should be drinking pomegranate juice. Like no one ever. Like it's too risky. Pick a different juice.
I think it is a good Easter egg. It's like getting your, it's a trap. It's a trap. Gears turning.
Oh, yeah. That's good. But Percy has this really fun line where he goes, "No, thank you. I don't think I should be around liquid at the moment," which is just a real fun little bit. So Percy asks this person how they made it through, and he's asking so that he can help Annabeth. And she says what the deal with the place is, but starts to make it very clear that it's a grift where it's all these demigods are here for years and years. And just as they're about to lose hope, someone succeeds. And Percy immediately is like, that feels suspicious. So he bursts into Cece's office and reveals that he knows what the grift is. He does sympathize with her at the start about how she helps people, but they treat her like an obstacle. And there is a great thing, more of like, not necessarily therapy talk, but like the way you talk to someone who is doing therapy talk, which is she says, "I help heroes, Percy." And he goes, "I believe you believe that." Ooh, love I believe you believe that. That's a really good
spicy read.
That is per-sassy condescension. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Really good stuff. So So then Cersei goes on this little monologue about how people leave as soon as they get what they want. Quote, heroes only love you as long as they need you, which, like, yeah, look, valid criticism. I for sure get it. This is also, I think, things that like regular adults deal with, trying to make sure that your relationships are genuine and not transactional. Like, it's a very big motif to have, and I'm glad it found its way into the show.
It is also our one flash of post Madeline Miller Cersei core. Sally is mentioned in here, and I think we can only imagine that Sally is, of course, a Madeline Miller reader.
Absolutely would have loved reading Cersei by Madeline Miller. Would have related to Cersei by Madeline Miller, being alone on her island, isolated, you know, dealing with these broke men.
Would have been like, damn, I could have written this.
Cersei by Madeline Miller probably catapulted her into her writing career. Absolutely.
Is Madeline Miller actually Sally?
If you enjoy little dashes of woke Cersei and you love Madeline Miller, we did several episodes diving into Madeline Miller's Cersei on the podcast this summer in preparation for the series. You can go tune into many hours of that.
Yeah, and for me, that's on my list of if I really got to milk TNO before I retire, that'll be on the that'll be
my
on
favorite
the list.
book.
Incredible
It is the Bible in many ways.
Look, I've heard really good things. I think this will be like, I'll read it for fun book, but I do have to save it just in case. But I feel like with the combo of all of the books in the Riordanverse, then all of the Rick Riordan Presents, then my safety net of if I run out of TNO stuff, I'll do a show where I go through Avatar: The Last Airbender because I've never seen any of that. Like, I don't think I'm going to have to get into it. I know, right?
Mike, it is not worth your career to not watch Avatar: The Last Airbender until you might need it for your... It is not...
You can lie.
Sacrifice. Sacrifice. You should lie. How can you do that to yourself? This is important media. I'm going to send you an email.
Okay, and I'm definitely going to read every word. Typing right now. Something happened with the rest of the episode starting at 45 minutes. I could just hear typing in the background the whole time.
Erica writing a manifesto on why everybody needs to see Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Why did Erica just going, for the final 15 minutes of the episode? Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Percy promises that he won't tell anyone Cersei's secret, and she says, if I help you pass the sirens, and he goes, no, if you help Annabeth. So she accepts the offer of him keeping her secret, but then blows dust onto him from a makeup compact. And then we get scary music and zoom ins on the critters, making us know he's about to turn into an animal. And he turns into a very well cast guinea pig. I was more upset, mainly because I knew it was going to happen. But when she steals Riptide, I was like, absolutely not. Like, I was furious. I was going to jump through my screen that had my name watermarked over it so that I don't videotape it and post it on the internet. I was going to jump through the @ symbol of Mike @Shubes and wring her by the neck. Not Riptide. You can't take Riptide. Oh, I was so upset. So upset. She wafts it away magically, puts it into her pen jar, and then she explains that she did this because if Annabeth passes the trial without so much as taking a single class, the litter will all leave. And then we get the guinea pigs talking, and it's Blackbeard, the guinea pig, saying, welcome aboard, lad. The name's Edward. Settle in for good.
Yes. Also
so
incredible
good.
guinea pig casting.
This did
really
everything
good guinea pig
for
casting.
me. The guinea pig for Blackbeard, unbelievable. Having him on an elevated surface inside of that cage, absolutely incredible. The little hint of a change in the scoring, in the instrumentation of the scene when they hit the pirates. I have a note about that will come up a little bit later as well, the pirate instrumentation.
Yeah, it's really good. I just feel like Daphne was so stoked about this. I'll have to ask her about it when I interview at the end of the season, but like, she probably was very excited for this particular scene.
Absolutely.
So now we have Clarice waking up from the cart. She hears Grover trapped in the dresser, asks where Polyphemus is. He says out looking for her, then says there's a key nearby in this pile of junk. And she thinks that all of this is based on what the Oracle said. Quote, she told me I'd fly to my final resting place, a tomb of stone. The A Tomb of Stone, is that new? I don't remember that being in Sea of Monsters.
Shall fear for your life entombed within stone is the line. But like, girl, did you not write it down? Write it down. Let's see the exact words.
She did not write it down. This is a straight up, not even misinterpretation.
Paraphrase is even stretching it with how bad this memory of the prophecy is.
She also really badly took down, at least if her coordinates were supposed to be Tantalus's, she wrote down a wildly different number. So I think Clarice, not an auditory learner. She's a visual learner. Yeah, she needs to see visually, which I am. I'm a better, like in school, I was always better when I saw stuff and wrote it down as opposed to hearing it. So like, I get it. But yeah, she is struggling. The comprehension, not there. So Clarice thinks she deserves this ending for her failed promise to her crew, and she asks Ares for forgiveness. And then Grover says, "Oh, your father is merciful and will care for you." And that's when she realizes something's up. That's not Ares. So then she rips open the dresser door, and I didn't clock this at all. I didn't see this coming. I completely fell for this twist.
Gets you every time.
And Grover is gagged, so it wasn't him talking. It was Polyphemus. Really good stuff.
Yeah, I think we have to like assume that this cabinet is like soundproof in some way in order to make this make sense, because as soon as the door opens, he's like
So I did watch this twice in prep for this recording. On the second time, I clocked that like one of the times when Grover is talking very calmly to Clarice, you hear like shaking in the cabinet. So it would make it seem like there's a bit of a disconnect there of like he's talking at a very normal thing, but then you hear like chunka chunka chunk. And it's like, if he was really beating at it, he would be talking differently. So I only noticed that my second time. So I think they do a little bit, but it's not like super obvious.
Yeah, Polyphemus got some like soundproofing foam washed up on shore, and he built this, for his trap.
He can throw his voice. He's a ventriloquist also.
It's a podcasting cabinet. Yeah.
And a ventriloquist.
Arian. They put Arian in the podcasting cabinet.
Yeah.
It's an Easter egg.
Now, Arian does great I'm terrified acting. Like, he looks so scared.
Yeah,
like,
he knows how to
really
drop it.
good.
In the eyes.
Yeah, they should cast Arian in a horror movie. Like, he did a really good job of like, oh no, the monster's coming. So Polyphemus shows up, covers Clarice, knocks her out, and then he basically reveals, I'm smart in this one, as opposed
Polyphemus!
And you know
He's
what?
finally here!
I love this change. Of all the changes in this episode, I support this one the most because when I read The Sea of Monsters, I didn't feel like Polyphemus was like that big of a big bad. Like, he didn't seem super smart or conniving or crafty. He just kind of seemed like he lucked into stuff, and he wasn't really like working super hard. And then even at the end when Percy beats him, like, it didn't seem like he was that tough of a foe to vanquish. But them establishing that this dude's actually really smart, I love it. Like, I think it's great to actually make the big bad bigger and badder. So I'm all on board for this.
Yeah.
Of all the changes, I'm defending this one.
It's very important to the mission of the show, in which they are trying to create a sense of the more broad definition of like what a monster is, and not just what a monster is, because we're also learning about Circe. She says, I'm not a god, I'm not a demigod, and I'm not a monster. I am someone who is trapped on this island. Carter and I have been feeling like it's really important, the establishing of the nature spirits, what a monster truly is, all of these other minor goddesses, witches and stuff, because when it comes to a war, there are not just two sides. There is a gigantic circular gray area that is going to affect every other being in this entire universe. And we need to know who those people are, because we also need to know what our secret, sneaky, third choice gray area is going to be when Percy and Thalia are trying to choose between sides in the war.
This episode is also generally about underestimation of others, overestimation of yourself. It is about humbling yourself. And this is one such instance in which everybody thought they gagged it, but
sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down, you're rocking the boat, one might say. And
it's not like we're going to take Polyphemus' side, but we do get just like a little bit of seeing his side of it where, he's like, you have been lying to me. You have been trying to trick me. You've been communicating with your friends and Percy in your dreams and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, like, still in the wrong to do what you're doing, but like, yeah, you were like trying to actively be deceived. So, we can understand where you're coming from.
It's valid work for his personal interests.
Sure.
He's not like supervillain. He's just like guy trying to eat.
I'm hungry. We've all been hungry. We get it. So
Team Polyphemus.
Oh no. What is also like really good for adding to the horror. What's also great for adding to the horror is that it cuts in between Polyphemus talking in his voice and in Grover's voice. And it's like really chilling to hear. Yeah, especially if you are Grover, hearing your own voice saying evil things to you has to suck. Like, especially for us as podcasters, at least me, I'm terrified that AI is, making a Mike Schubert fake thing where they've taken my literal days of audio and turned it into a thing. I'm worried that this is going to happen. So now we've got that going on back in the spa land. We have Annabeth returning to Cece's office saying that she's about to leave. She's just looking for Percy. And someone said Percy came in here. And Circe says, look, you got to know your fatal flaw. And Annabeth interrupts this monologue that she's about to go on to say pride. I know it was pride. And when I learned it was pride, I was proud of it. And I was like, that's pretty good.
So good. I really, really particularly love Annabeth walking in here with blueprints because it was such a classic, you saw the people, I saw the buildings. A line that Annabeth says to Percy Percy in the books. And this is such a classic moment where both Percy and Annabeth walk into Cece's office in this episode trying to save themselves and get themselves out of the situation, but in completely different ways. And Percy walks in and says, I'm going to use my emotional intelligence I inherited from Sally Jackson on you to read you for filth, and then therapize you into getting Annabeth out, right? Save Annabeth, not me. Don't worry about me. And then Annabeth comes in here with literal blueprints and is like, I figured it out. I solved the problem.
There's an
I wrote the
engineering
schema.
trick.
I engineered, and now you were going to let the two of us out, which is just a perfect, like sub little set microcosm of who they are and their fatal flaws and their problem solving skills, that we get to like have these two identical mirrored scenes within 5 minutes of each other. It was very satisfying to me.
Yeah, it was really good. And especially where you've got Cersei trying to get in Annabeth's head, like, oh, would your mother be more disappointed in you failing or more saddened by you dying? And Annabeth's like, I'm not going to die because I'm not going to fail. But it's really fun and it sets up the upcoming scene really well. But Annabeth has this winch system. Oh, I also love with the blueprints we've established that Annabeth is great at art this season because she also did the beautiful police sketch of Tantalus and then now has like the really well done blueprints. So she's rocking it. And I guess bringing all of her sketching equipment with her along the journey. So Annabeth then sees in the classic like steel little ball hamster drinking thing a cyclone in there. So she's like, I wonder who that could be. Then she sees Riptide in the pen case and she's like, oh, I definitely know who this is. So then she fakes being worried that Cece might be right. Maybe she needs more time. And at one point, Cersei reveals like, look, I totally get it. My mom invented magic. And I was like, I know from Hades 2, the video game, that Cersei's mom is not Hecate because they're both characters.
Different retellings.
Yeah, I looked it up and it's one of those like not as common, but some of them say that her mom is Hecate. And I was like, that's fascinating. So
Especially fascinating because she did say earlier, I'm not a god, I'm not a demigod.
Yeah.
What is the daughter of Hecate but either a god or a demigod? Interesting.
Yep.
But
yes. Yeah, once she said that earlier in the episode, I was like, that's not true, right? And then, it gets confirmed in later. I'm also intrigued, and again, no spoilers, as we established earlier, that I'm just in the beginning of House of Hades and Hecate is a character. I'm wondering if the books will establish that Hecate is Cersei's mom, or if that like doesn't come up at all. At least it hasn't been mentioned. So now I'm like, ooh, gotta see. Thank you for spoiler protecting. Your trapdoors are intact. So then, of course, Annabeth drops in the vitamins, and her reasoning is that she says she was maybe a little jealous that Percy had his mom be around him, and it made her wonder, what would it be like if my mom was around more? But what makes her angrier than Percy having a good mom is someone trying to take Percy away from his good mom. And then she drops in the vitamins. Sally Jackson becoming really important in the show makes me really happy. I'm so stoked for what's probably going to happen with her and May Castellan crossing over. Ooh, gonna be some good stuff. Then the pirates are here and the pirate music. Do you have a specific pirate thing or just that it sounded very piratey?
Specifically after Blackbeard is revealed, it's like not until he says, call me Blackbeard, bam, we hit the hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah,
if
dude.
you think I'm making that up, I'm not. It's the hurdy-gurdy. It is a mechanical, hand-cranked string instrument that is the primary instrumentation in the Black Sails intro song, which is regarded as one of the greatest intros in the history of television. It is a heavy metal sea shanty. He goes, bah, 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 and they're cranking that hurdy-gurdy. And so just a slight dash after he says, call me Blackbeard, then we get with that hurdy-gurdy. I was like, unreal. That I'm going to consider it a Bear McCreary Easter egg. It blew my mind and I was very happy. This entire song on the soundtrack is called Cece's Resort and Spa, and it kind of like transitions between the spa music into the pirate adventuring at the end. And it's my favorite track on the entire soundtrack.
I got to start listening to the soundtrack because I know the sea shanty made its way in there also. So.
Yes, we sail from Asphodel.
Really good stuff. The pirate thing is great. Cece leaves asking for help, and then Blackbeard orders for his men to chase after her. One screams, get the witch, which is great. Percy grabs the wax. Blackbeard offers him some celery, which is like, yes, but of course, the guinea pigness still coming through.
10 out of 10.
And Percy goes, Eddie? And he goes, call me Blackbeard. It's so good.
Bro,
so good.
hit that hurdy-gurdy.
And again, like different from the book, but like for what they're doing in the show, I get it. Though I do love, because in the book, like, obviously the pirates like end up destroying it. That's like Hilla's whole thing. But do they steal Blackbeard's boat in the book, right?
In the book, they're on the Queen Anne's Revenge. But we weren't going to build a second 80-foot long boat.
And do they fight Blackbeard and their guys or in the book or no?
No.
They just steal the boat. Okay. So a little sad that they aren't on the Queen Anne's Revenge, but like, all right.
We see it
So
as we leave.
we do see it. So Annabeth and Percy are then on the boat. Cersei's overlooking the window, making me really wonder, like, what did happen with the pirates? Like, clearly the whole place hasn't gone to crap.
Yeah.
Do you know, Carter? Or are you just also wondering?
No, it is like a genuinely fascinating, like they needed to have this to get the mechanics that we're about to see, but also like, are we not setting ourselves up for the Son of Neptune? Like,
I know.
I don't know.
My read on what they've done so far with the show is like, they're just making this show and not trying to set up future stuff. And I get it, like in basketball, to bring it's or in any sports thing with a game of series, like best of 7 thing, but you got to play for the game you're playing. Like you can't treat game 1 being like, well, what is going to happen in game 5? Like if you don't win a game, there is no game 5. So like you got to win game 1. So I think that's what the show is doing.
Don't close the trapdoor for our 4 movies of the Heroes of Olympus.
Yeah.
Which they're not.
It's 4 because we're combining the first 2 into one movie.
I like
Don't
it.
send me an email. Don't send me an email.
I'm on a different thing. I think they need to make it as a K-drama because there's so many K-drama moments in the book.
We're going to recast everybody?
Look.
Or are we having white people in a K-drama?
At least just the K-drama formatting.
You want Percy to You Are My Destiny down to Tartarus?
Look, there's so many times where people catch people falling, like, and there's so many weird magical love things where they just can't be like, I would not be surprised if someone's like, oh, there's this K-drama where there's a couple that's together, but you learn actually it's all based off of false memories. Like, yeah, that sounds exactly right. I've seen Beauty Inside. Like anything is possible.
This is going to haunt me, I fear.
I'll think on this.
Look, I'm telling you, it's a K-drama. Anyway, so Percy then is on the boat with Annabeth, and he pulls out the wax, but he is saddened to see that there's only enough for 1. So he offers it to Annabeth and offers tie me to the mast. Annabeth begrudgingly agrees, but then Cersei yoinks the jar back, and you know she means business because she breaks the glass window while doing so. That is an expensive glass pane.
Her beautiful
to put
stained
back.
glass.
It is stained glass. It is big. That's going to take weeks to repair. Oh, she was so pissed. Pure anger. That's how you know. That is expensive and annoying to reinstall. Now Percy's freaking out, asking, what do we do? Saying, cut me loose. But Annabeth is going to try and face them head on. She says, I can do this. And I wrote, that's pride. And we'll see how this goes. Percy's begging to be untied. The song overtakes. The vision begins. And the vision then has the song overlap into Grover singing the consensus song again, twice in one episode. How fantastic. Yes. And
Delicious.
It's this like scene that kind of looks like the hideouts from the flashbacks, sewery vibes. And we've got Luke and Percy and Grover all talking. Percy and Luke are arguing. Grover wants to clear the air between them. And then we have Percy screaming after Annabeth as she approaches the sirens. We go back to the vision where Grover's like, Annabeth, you want to give peace a chance? We could use a little wisdom here. Percy outside gets riptide out, so we know he's going to try and do something to save her. And then Annabeth goes, you want some words of wisdom? And then we cut back to the sirens. They look so cool and scary and bringing her in and everything. And then, surprisingly, she shanks fake Percy first, which I was like, ooh, you know, her going after Percy first. I wonder if that says anything, but she stabs fake Percy, stabs fake Luke, and then Grover screams and growls. It's, you know, revealing like, oh, he's the siren. And this is the siren happening. But then Athena flies in, shoves a spear through the back of the final siren because Annabeth was kind of on the ground. And I wrote in my notes when I was first watching this, wait, she can't intervene. What's going on? Oh, but she looks so cool. What a great jumpsuit. And very excited to see Andra Day in the role. And then she goes, I've never seen anyone set a trap for the sirens until today. And then Annabeth is all excited saying, I didn't know you were watching. She goes, I was always watching. And we get some sappy music. She reaches out her hand. Annabeth is crying. She takes her hand. But no, big plot twist, which I totally fell for, that this is actually the vision. Like the vision is not.
Sirenception.
Oh man, so good. Did you two clock it? I fell for this 100%.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Sirenception, 100%. It's brilliant because the first vision is what the sirens think Annabeth will think she is going to see in her vision, which is an opportunity for her to be excellent and fix everything and bring everyone together. When really, like you said, it's set up perfectly in Cersei's scene with Annabeth, where she says, you think it's all about pride for you, when in reality, it's all about proving to your mother that you are a good little girl. And that is what is your problem. And so they are able to 1-2 punch Sirenception her with it's actually your mother. It's always your mother. And I have been on a soapbox for the past 6 months saying that Annabeth's fatal flaw is not actually hubris, it's perfectionism, which you could argue is just a word specificity. But I do think that this pushes that agenda because it isn't about fixing the 3 kids. It is ultimately about proving to her mom that she is perfect. And
I
all of these
need to do the
expectations
fixing.
that she, so that my mom sees me.
Yeah.
It's all in the Lightning Thief musical, y'all. It's all present in the text.
Oh man. So yeah, I completely fell for it. It was great. I like jumped in my seat. It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, so perfect.
It's like a much deeper, truer display than the book has about what hubris actually looks like. Like, I think it's more many people could believe that they could build New York City better than current New York City. In my opinion, I don't think that's some pie in the sky. Like, American infrastructure is not so great that an individual person could not do a better job. It, like, genuine hubris would be being like, I'm going to be the first person to ever trick the sirens. Like, I think it's a clear illustration, and it's a clear illustration of like what a fatal flaw is. Like, the vision in the books is more like she's a very confident person, but it's not clear why, for example, this confidence is something that she could not outgrow or overcompensate for or adjust for in other ways. Whereas this is really making it clear that, like, you think that you had a mastery on your hubris. You said that you named it, and so therefore you had a control over it. But this is not true. You know that you are hubristic, and in spite of that, this is going to keep being a problem for you, no matter what. This is a fatal flaw. Yeah. This is bone deep. You're going to keep struggling with this forever.
Yeah, I liked it.
I also really like that the second she steps off the boat and onto the island, she has, effectively lost. And she has proven her fatal flaw in that moment. Because you're not going to step foot on that island and win. Yeah. The second you turn your boat towards the island, you are showing your hubris. So from the beginning, we should have known that this was going to be a fake out of some kind.
Totally should have. Oh my, it's one of those things where it's like they planted the seeds so well and so often that I'm foolish for not picking up on it. But I was just like so captivated by the story that like...
Yes, we're so excited by Andre Day flying from the sky.
But even when I was watching, I was like, wow, this Athena stuff is like really sappy. Would the show really be this sappy? So I'm glad that this is what it is because I was like, feels really heavy-handed.
We were about to get mad because we're like, Athena can't act like this. Like, that's not...
My 2 notes were like, Athena can't do this, and this feels way too sappy to be like what the show would actually do. And then, nope, they got me. So Percy basically does some sort of situation. I'm assuming this is like how he also has powers to control boats and not just water.
It's a boat power.
Yeah, has himself tied to a rope. He like grabs Annabeth and then like reels himself in like a fishing rod and brings her through the water. In the water, you see all of these like wrecked ships and stuff. And then they're back on the boat. He wraps Annabeth in a blanket. She says that she thought she could do it because they passed so many impossible trials. She thought she could do it. But then she realizes, me thinking Athena would be proud of me is pride. It's hubris. But Percy says it's human. You want her to notice you, and she should. Another great little cute Percabeth line. Yeah. Annabeth asks what he saw when he heard the song, and he says just her. He says that her being on the rocks shielded him and says that he thinks she saved me. And I think this could be legit as like all of their song is about her. So that's why his vision like wasn't completely debilitating. So I think it
because what's his fatal flaw?
His fatal flaw is her. So I think that his vision was what was actually happening. He showed his fatal flaw plenty enough by trying to save her and get her out of there. His fatal flaw is saving Annabeth. And so it was, in effect, his vision that he saw in real life.
Yeah. So he thinks that she saved him. She says if he had stayed at camp, she'd be Siren Chow. So he saved her. And he says maybe we both needed to be here to get past them, like the one version of fate that doesn't suck. She laughs. Percy then gets up and says the coordinates. They are here. They're at the Sea of Monsters. They're at the cave. And you can see the island in the distance. And that is the end of this episode and the end of this episode of the podcast. Erica and Carter, thank you so much for joining. Lending the Percabeth expertise. Super fun. If people want to find you doing stuff, where can they find your stuff?
Come follow us on Seaweed Brain Podcast on pretty much every platform. I think we're Seaweed Brain Pod on Twitter, but Seaweed Brain Podcast everywhere else. Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky a little bit, YouTube. I'm trying to do YouTube, guys. Give us a subscribe. We're doing weekly analysis episodes, and we're also dropping interviews, and then we're going to have a bunch of interviews post-season, so come and join us. And this episode, I have a fear it will be like 3 hours when we record it on our podcast. So if you want to get really nitty-gritty, if you want to talk about Percy and Annabeth, mortal tether, which Carter and I have some thoughts on in this last scene, you can come and join us. It will be painfully levitating.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you both so much for joining. Listeners, thank you for listening. And until next time, when we see what goes down, I don't know what's ahead, but I know, Erica, you said it, episode 6 is really freaking good.
Really good.
So I'll just have to see. Until then, I'll see you later. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of The New Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamanes and Brendan Krugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you can't get enough of the show, you can go to thenewsolympian.com/Patreon for bonus episodes, bonus content, ad-free episodes, a whole bunch of fun stuff. If you want to interact with the community around the show, you can check out the Discord, which is available to all patrons, or we're on social media. We're at Newest Olympian on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And we've got a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewestalympian. You can also show your love for TNO by getting TNO merch at thenewsolympian.com/merch. Of course, want to give a huge shout out to our producer level patrons, Kelsey Gillespie, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Sam Ruby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkopf, Rayla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Mick Walters, Grace, Ginger Spursboy, Bradimus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jackson, Kit Kat Crumbs, Jim Jam Koopy, Andrea, not Andrea, Jordan Ray, Nikos Black, Vespa, Zayden Wintergate, Terry Rothfuzz, and Certified Ghost King's emotional support friend. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, word of mouth is essential for podcast growth. You can tell a friend directly, say, hey, there's this Percy Jackson podcast I think you would like, check it out. You could leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're using, or you could just talk about the show on social media. All these things really do help. I really appreciate anyone who has done so in the past, and I appreciate anyone who will do so in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tuned into our next full episode after the bonus episode interview. The next full episode where we'll be breaking down season 2, episode 6 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians with Robert from the damn media page. But until then, I'll Percy you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mike. So I'm here in our hotel room, and we're all getting ready to pack up and stuff. I'm within reaching distance of the fridge, so I'm just gonna open. Oh no, that's the cabinet. That's not the fridge. It's one of those cabinet situations where there's like a fridge behind a cabinet. So that's me opening and closing some cabinets. Here's me dragging our suitcase across the floor. I'm gonna repack all my microphone stuff into that. And here's me tapping on the couch that have my stuff all set up. This is the arm of the couch. Nice little place, but I'm very excited to move to Sydney for the next couple of days. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for listening.